Hi, I'm Jeanette, the North Dawn coach, and today we're going to dive into the topic of one of the symptoms of a mid-career crisis, and that is when you are suffering from a lack of motivation. Now, this particular symptom can just feel like you are hitting a brick wall if you are suffering from it. So I thought, hey, I have a brick wall in my house. Why don't we film this video with the brick wall in the background? So that's why we find ourselves over here in this setting today. So what I want to share with you are 3 different ideas of what you might do if you are suffering from this symptom of a mid-career crisis. These are 3 ideas that I think work for a variety of people, and there are 3 things that have worked for me as I came through my own mid-career crisis. So the first thing that you will want to do if you're suffering from a lack of motivation is to go back and revisit your why. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, your why is, why do you do, or why have you done the work that you are focused on in your career? This is really like, where are you getting the value, the joy, the satisfaction out of your work? What's in it for you? And so when I think about my own experience as I went through this exercise, one of the things I recognized is I don't think I had an awareness of it necessarily the whole time, but when there was a lack of my why, it started to build up and show up over time. And so what I found out for myself was in my career earlier on, I had much more opportunity to work one-on-one with individuals, whether that be in coaching or in facilitating different meetings or workshops, learning and development opportunities, those kinds of things. And that brought me quite a bit of satisfaction. And underneath the satisfaction was realizing it was really important, or it is still actually really important for me to feel like I'm making a positive difference for individuals and for groups. And as my career changed and grew and I was promoted, more of my responsibilities were around managing the different programs. And so there was less opportunity to do that one-on-one and group facilitation and coaching, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, that drained me of energy, or as our topic is today, motivation around the different things. I wasn't getting that return because that part of my role had really dried up. So that may be the case for you. Now, of course, your why is probably completely different from mine, or maybe there's some similarities. But when you really think about what brings you the most satisfaction in your work, maybe you can trace back to something that has disappeared or changed. And then if it's possible to re-engage around that, that will then help to increase your feelings of motivation around the work that you're doing. Okay, second idea, and that is to identify other aspects besides that you're not working within your why of the job that might be draining your energy. So could be a variety of different things that you find draining. Again, we're all different people, so it will be different for each one of us. But as I thought back into my situation and what was draining for me, not only was it draining not to be close to my why anymore, but it was draining to be dealing with some of the, I'll say, organizational politics sorts of issues, and also this overall sense over the course of years that I spent within the organization that though it really mattered to do, well, it sounds like a scouting motto, but that it really mattered to do good. And that is very consistently the goal. But a lot of different things, especially in an organization as decentralized as the one that I was in, got in the way of the good work. So many times it felt to me over the years like The tide would go in and the tide would go out, and the tide would go in and the tide would go out. And so many of the things that I wanted to influence positively were swept away at times as the tide would go back out on those particular issues. And I found that to be quite draining. Now, again, this could be different for you. There could be all sorts of different things that you find to be draining. But the point is to sit down and think through, what are those things that are draining the fuel that you have, the fuel that motivates you around your work. And if there's some changes that can be made in your role, in your organization, that can adjust that for you, then that's something that can be done. Otherwise, it might need to be that you look at some other opportunities where there aren't as draining of circumstances that you are having to contend with. All right, now the third idea here is to think about how you can redefine what success means to you. So maybe earlier in your career, success meant promotional opportunities. So having your title change and be elevated over the years, and earning a greater rate of annual compensation, bonuses, certain prestige, those kinds of things. It may be, especially if you're a Gen X or 50 pluser, as I am, that those things at this stage of life are not as important anymore. Maybe different things define success for you. Maybe different things define success for you and you didn't even realize that things were changing in that regard. And that's true for me. I thought that earning promotions and different titles were going to make me feel a certain way, but though they might have, there's the ego too. There's an element of that. They aren't as rewarding as I thought that they would be. And I think there's a point where I have just realized that we don't have an indefinite amount of time. And I have choices to be made about how I spend my time, what I'm doing with that, and redefining my success and what that means to me was an important aspect of regaining my motivation. And so part of what redefining success meant for me, and again, not necessarily for you, we all have different definitions of that, but in my case, redefining success meant I really want to try the entrepreneurial route. I really want in this area of my career to try something entirely different. And I got what I asked for. And though it's challenging many, many days of the week, it's also so rewarding. And so I can feel the redefinition of my success around that and what it means to look at success from a completely different perspective than I had maybe earlier in my career. So what does success mean for you? That's something to think through. So what I found is that combination of these three ideas, really coming back to revisiting your why, thinking about what's draining your energy, and redefining what success means, can really make a big difference in how much motivation you feel. And so when Sunday afternoon comes along and you look at the coming week, instead of feeling that overwhelming sense of anxiety and dread, now you can look at it with excitement, joy, for the gratitude of the kinds of things that you have coming in front of you this coming week. That's the goal. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. I like to come with one video on a different aspect of midlife career crisis in the middle of the week. And then in the weekend period, I come back with some of what I'm learning, my current reflections, and share them with you. there. So please, as I grow this channel, I would be so grateful if you could like, if you could subscribe, if you can share these videos, and I look forward to being back with you in a couple more days. Thanks so much.